All right, let's talk about something we all do every single day, usually without even thinking about it, and that's reasoning. Today, we're going to break down the two major highways our brains travel down when we're trying to figure something out. So, let me just ask you this straight up. How do you decide what's true? I mean, really think about it. Whether you're solving a puzzle, figuring out what you want for lunch, or debating some huge idea, you're using these specific mental tools. So today, we're going to put those tools right under the microscope. Okay, let's dive right in with our first method. This is deduction. I kind of like to think of it as the certainty engine because, well, when it's working the right way, its output is pretty much guaranteed. It's a very top-down kind of process. So here's the official definition. The keywords you really want to focus on are general statements and logically certain conclusion. What this means is that deduction isn't really about discovering brand new information. It's more about unpacking what was already hidden inside our starting points. This little arrow shows the direction of travel perfectly. With deduction, we're always starting with a big, broad rule, and then we apply it to one specific case. It's like a funnel, narrowing things down to a single point. And here it is, maybe the most famous example in all of philosophy, the syllogism. Just look at how this works. Step 1 is our big general rule. Step 2 is our specific little fact. Now, if, and this is a really big if, those first two statements are true, then the conclusion cannot be false. It is completely logically locked in, and that is the incredible power of deduction. Okay, so let's switch gears and look at our second method, which basically builds things in the opposite direction. Meet induction, or as I like to call it, the pattern detective. This is a bottom-up approach, and it's all about gathering clues from the world around you. You can see the difference right away, can't you? Here, we start with specific observations, and we use them to build a broad generalization. But the most crucial difference is right there at the end. The conclusion is probable, not certain. This is really the foundation of the scientific method, and honestly, how we learn most things in our day-to-day lives. So this is the exact reverse of that funnel we just saw. Instead of narrowing down, we're expanding outwards. We take one specific thing we see, then another, and we try to build up to a general rule that covers all of them. Let me tell you a quick story. For hundreds and hundreds of years, pretty much every swan any European had ever laid eyes on was white. I mean, one observation after another, the data was just overwhelming. So the inductive conclusion seemed totally solid. All swans must be white. Until, of course, they weren't. The moment explorers got to Australia and saw black swans, that so-called certainty was just shattered. And this is the perfect illustration of induction's greatest strength and its greatest weakness. It's amazing for learning, but it's always open to being proven wrong by new evidence. Just one single black swan was enough to tear down the whole rule. So, we have our two big contenders, the certainty engine on one side and the pattern detective on the other. Now let's put them in the ring side by side and really see how they stack up. If you're going to remember one thing from all this, let it be this right here. Deduction gives you certainty, but only if your starting points are true. Induction gives you probability, a likelihood based on the evidence you've gathered. Certainty versus probability. That is the core difference. So let's break it down. Deduction's strength is that rock-solid logical certainty. Its weakness? It totally depends on its starting premises being true. Garbage in, garbage out. Now, induction's strength is that it's how we learn from experience and discover new things. But its weakness is what we saw with the swans. Your conclusion can always be flipped upside down by new evidence. Let's make this super real for a second. You use deduction constantly. A general rule, right? The corner shop is closed on Sundays. A specific fact. Today is Sunday. So your conclusion that you probably shouldn't bother walking over there is deductively certain. Simple as that. And right after that, you might use induction. Let's say you notice a pattern. Every time you eat peanuts, you get this weird rash. From these specific observations, you form a general theory. I'm probably allergic to peanuts. It's a really strong conclusion for sure, but it's still a probability, not 100% logical certainty. Now, at this point, you might be thinking one of these is, better than the other. But here's the twist. They aren't really competitors at all. In fact, they're essential partners. They actually need each other to work properly. They're constantly working together, like a team. Think about science. It uses induction, gathering observation after observation to form a hypothesis. Then it uses deduction to predict what should happen if that hypothesis is true. And we do this all the time. Our belief that the sun will rise tomorrow, that's pure induction, based on past experience. Deciding to set an alarm because of that belief, that's deduction. See? They work together.
So we've got our two main paths, the top-down certainty engine and the bottom-up pattern detective. But hey, before we wrap this up, I want to show you a fascinating third way of thinking, one that kind of combines a bit of both.
Meet abductive reasoning. You can think of this as inference to the best explanation. It's like being a real detective. You come home, you see a broken window. You don't know for sure what happened, but you make a logical leap to the most likely cause, a thief. It's not pure deduction or induction. It's more like a creative, educated guess based on the evidence you have. Whew, okay, we've covered a lot of ground. But let's get down to it. Why does any of this actually matter? Why is it important to know the difference between these types of reasoning in the real world? Well, it matters because when you understand these tools, you get to have more control over your own thinking. You can start to spot a weak inductive argument from a mile away. You can check if a deductive claim is actually valid. And maybe most importantly, you can start to see the line between a well-reasoned conclusion and, well, just an opinion. And this brings us right back to where we started with our old friend Socrates. He famously said that an unexamined life isn't worth living. And these tools, deduction, induction, they are two of the most powerful tools we have to do exactly that, to examine our own beliefs and ideas. So, I'll leave you with this question. Now that you know what to look for, where are you going to see these patterns of reasoning pop up today? Will it be in the news, in a conversation with a friend, or maybe just in the very next decision you have to make? Keep an eye out. Thanks so much for watching.